Surgeons of Reddit, what's the weirdest object you've had to remove from someone's butt? MD, but not a surgeon. On my surgery we had to remove a mini Nerf football from someone's butt. He kept apologizing and saying he wasn't gay. Later, the attending surgeon told us that it's always the straight guys coming in with stuff up their butts and they always try explaining that they aren't gay. Football up the ass gives new meaning to the term wide receiver. Definitely not a tight end. Not anymore anyway. We received a patient with horrible pain that felt like constipation. He couldn't poop and laxatives weren't helping. We soon found out that the blockage wasn't just constipation, it was a string of beads several meters long that had become tangled into an ugly ball inside. I had to snip it apart and carefully pull pieces of it out. When most of it was out, his asshole became a rocket engine with diarrhea as the propellant. I once had a flatmate who was a nurse. She had a patient who came in complaining of stomach pains, which was caused by the cucumber he'd shoved up his butt a couple of days earlier. Apparently the smell caused by pickling a cucumber in your colon is extremely nasty. You can stuff 'em up your booty. You can pack 'em up your bum. When you're filling your patootie, you can push 'em with your thumb. You can shove 'em where it's stinkin'. You can show 'em to the smell. Where your tiny brown eyes winkin'. In your hiney hoop of hell. You can take that tiny trooper to the place it's always night. You can put 'em up your pooper. But you shouldn't. That ain't right. Dunno what qualifies as weird anymore. Between myself and friends. Glass dildo, vibrating dildo, travel toothbrush holder, Campbell's soup can, cucumber, Maglite, cologne bottle, Sean John unforgivable hair, time capsule, light bulb, aerosol can cap. The oddest one was literally nothing. Guy comes in complaining of something stuck up their butt by girlfriend. Doctor feels and nothing there. X-ray and CT scan says maybe something there. I don't feel anything. In the operating room I feel deeper and still nothing. Finally do a full colonoscopy and nothing there. When I worked in the ER we had a guy come in with a 6-battery Maglite stuck up Main Street. The funny part is that it was inserted bulb out and it was turned on. So we laid him down prone and the doc spread his cheeks, then the room lit up like he just cracked open Marcellus Wallace's briefcase. Back when I was an ER tech, we had this guy come in with a full-size bottle of VO5 shampoo up his butt. Of course he said he fell on it in the shower. You could clearly see it on the X-ray, it was pretty spectacular. The best part was he knew exactly what needed to be done to get it out. Suggesting that this wasn't the first time, he asked for conscious sedation and for someone to pull it out. Well, the doctor tried that, then tried to manually get it out with forceps. And was essentially elbow deep in this dude, but couldn't get it. He had to go to the operating room to get it taken out. I bumped into the surgeon a few days later and asked him how it went. He joked to me that after we knocked him out, I grabbed a plunger out of the bathroom and got it out that way. But then told me all he had to do was stick some suction up there till he felt it connect, and then slowly pulled it out. According to the surgeon, this guy never presented any sort of identification or insurance card, and demanded to pay his entire bill before he left. Usually takes some time for bills to get finalized. He paid it completely in cash, and then left via a taxi. Not a surgeon, but as a former paramedic I brought them lots of business and feel qualified to chime in. I brought a guy to the hospital with severe abdominal pain and rectal bleeding. The dispatch nature was accidental injury, not life-threatening per patient. The chief complaint was I put something in my butt and can't get it out. Patient refused to elaborate on something. Delivered patient to the ED and was filling out my run report when the charge nurse came into the EMS room and said, "Come here, you have to see this." I followed her to the little X-ray alcove next to his room as a surgical orderly was wheeling him out of the room along with the nurse and the ED attending. The charge nurse flipped on the light board. Yes, I'm going old enough. X-rays used to be film-based, and I stared in confusion for a few seconds. I could make out the pelvis, both femurs, spine. etc., but there were other hard objects shown. She pulled down the first X-ray and put up the second, which is when I made out a small animal skull and I realized the other objects were bones as well. I looked over to the nurse and started, "Is that a rat?" She finished. Dude stuck a rat up his ass, and was rushed to surgery because it chewed the shit out of him, pun intended, before suffocating and had perforated his colon in multiple locations. He survived the discharge and is presumably still out there. My partner and I never did determine the method of administration, but I'm picturing one of those heavy trail plastic tube cage setup things. Not a surgeon, but a former anesthesia technician while in the army. I had a few interesting cases come through. Top 5, not in order. 1. Light bulb, not like a lamp light bulb, but one of those LED lightsaber bulbs that you see air traffic controller people using. 2. 24-inch double-ended ribbed black dildo. That was a guy who had it stuck there. 3. Soda can. 4. Ken doll. This was actually removed from a woman's vagina. 5. Half a baguette. Not a fucking clue how that happened, honestly. I've thought about it a lot and just never could figure it out. Not me, but a good friend I have known since 6th grade who is an emergency room drive. Straight couple in their early 20s, and they were using a vibrator on her. They switch, he said it was his first time, and they had lube everywhere and the slim 6-inch vibrator disappeared all the way up in him while it was still on. They waited and tried to get it out on their own and finally went into the ER. They were going to wait till the batteries died, but it was getting late. My buddy tried to get it out but couldn't get it. He told the guy they might have to do surgery to get it. The guy asks my buddy if he has to go in, can he call his mom and tell her? My buddy laughs and says, "You are 22 and you get to call your mom to tell her you have a buzzing vibrator in your ass that might be perforating your colon." Then my buddy remembers a guy he went to medical school who works in the same hospital. He has freaky long thin fingers like ET that might work. The other doctor gloves up and gets the vibrator still buzzing out of him. Just to FYI, it is really easy for this to happen, so limit the lube on your hands. Your colon gets like a suction on it and things go in easy, like what happened to these guys. Years ago my nurse wife told me a man had an apple removed from his butt, but I never understood how this could be possible. I often think about this but have never asked her for more details. I'll ask her over the table at Christmas dinner tonight. Disappointing update. I didn't ask her at the Christmas dinner. There were small children around and everyone was having a nice time. It didn't seem cool to bring it up. Also, no one else started any butt stuff related conversations, providing an opening for my inquiry. I asked her today but also told her about my post on here. She didn't feel comfortable sharing the details with you guys, so I guess you'll just have to use your imagination. Someone posted about a similar situation and suggested they had possibly worked with my wife. Based on the details in their post, I am sure it was a separate apple butt incident. Not a surgeon but a vet. We diagnosed a cat with pancreatitis, very dangerous, but the owner insisted the cat was constipated because he hadn't had a BM in a few days. Hadn't had a BM because he hadn't eaten in a week, also very dangerous. We told her the cat needed to be hospitalized. She said she couldn't because she had a holiday in Cuba the day after. She gave our number to the poor pet sitter who called us begging to take this screaming cat off their hands. I drove to pick the cat up, and one of the worst sounds carved into my dreams is being stuck in traffic with a wailing, dying cat. Get to the clinic and we find blood and something around his anus. Well, the cat died and we talked the owner over the phone and she starts sobbing, asking how could this happen. Turned out before she left she read on the internet that egg yolk up the butt would cure constipation. Whatever she used had punctured through. I would happily beat 7 kinds of shit out of that ignorant old woman. Not a surgeon but, wowie, do I know a lot of cases involving falling on things and other such excuses. Here are just some of the things I know. A Buzz Lightyear action figure. A Barbie doll. Plaster of Paris, they wanted a mold of his colon. Instead, it had to be cut open as it was glued shut by the plaster. Glasses, the sight kind. Jewelry, mostly necklaces. A cucumber which, after proclaiming he fell over in the garden naked and landed on his cucumber patch, still had the Tesco wrapper on it. A light bulb. Finally, on a rather dark note, if you're a fool who slipped something up their black hole, 'cause the butt sucks things in disturbingly well, they can't retrieve, please, for the love of God, go to your doctor. People have died due to toxic shock due to this shit. A guy here died of it in 2 weeks due to having a dildo stuck up there and never went to his docs. Your pride can recover, but you can't recover from death. No, serious, tag and I'm crunk as fuck, so I'm chiming in. My friend said she lost a butt plug up there. Shouldn't be a big deal first, I don't know how it's possible, but she claimed it was a little one, and given how upset she was telling the story after, I believe it. I just don't understand it. But said a dude had her tied up like a fucking mummy using duct tape. I'm not exaggerating here. Her words, and dude literally breaks character and says, do you remember if I put the butt plug in or took it out? And long story short, they are both blitzed as fuck, so have call a friend to drive them to the hospital to get it out. Except, she's embarrassed as fuck and doesn't wanna go. So dude shows up and the dom dude remembers, hey, aren't you a medical professional? And guy is like, yeah, and they recruit random dude to fist her ass and recover it. And, he does. But dude turns out to be a homeopath and has nothing to do with retrieving shit from asses. She said then ended up double teaming her. I asked an obvious question, so double simultaneous anal? And she told me not to be gross. Merry Christmas, degenerates. I was an RN at a busy Detroit emergency department. A homeless woman, frequent flyer and drug abuser, came in to see us with abdominal pain. The X-ray revealed 17 oval-shaped objects in her vaginal space. They were removed by a very diligent medical resident armed with a speculum and McGill forceps, with the aid of an ultrasound tech. 17 Barbie doll heads. Their removal was made a bit easier by their long hair. Edit, former coworker saw my post. Small world. Reminded me of the man with the small fluorescent bulb in his rectum. He insisted on the doctor in the ER just pulling it out, and sending him on his way. But those bulbs break very easily, lacerated colon, and are full of toxic chemicals, poisoning. Surgical removal was recommended, but he flatly refused, because hey, what would he tell his wife? He signed out armor and we never saw him again. Not a surgeon, but I work in medical insurance and we get these internal newsletter from some of our in-house doctors, clinical staff, with random medical facts, and had one this week which had a bit about odd things found inside of people, including a live eel in someone's rectum which was eating on his colon, 40 pocket knives, Lego tire up a kid's nose for 3 years, a pea plant growing in a man's lungs, a candy cane in someone's rectum. There was a tiny bit of background with some of them, but I can't remember all the details. Edit, although the people who write our newsletters are professionals and do educate us about medical conditions and body parts etc., they do occasionally like to find random stuff to share with us too, like the above, so they might be a result of random Googles, but I've managed to find random articles which I've linked to for each one.